Coach Sherrill.
Hey, how are you doing, Vincent?
Yes, sir.
What's it like in Atlanta today?
Well, here we go. Hold on.
Hold on.
3, 2, and 1. Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. And today we're joined with Jackie Sherrill. We're going to go behind the bench with Jackie Sherrill. Joining me, as always, is Vincent Turner. Our producer and engineer is Logan Landers, and Jackie Sherrill, our special guest. And Jackie, we didn't get you last week. We had to submit to the United States government and the military, right? We had a chance to visit. We're all scheduled, but you had a trip that you had to take. Tell us a little bit about your trip to Fort Bragg.
I got to go and visit the Green Beret Special Forces and got to go into their facility, got to see some of the things that they do, see some of the actual training that they have to do for different missions. And I was really shocked because, talking about game planning and planning for a mission is not much difference. I've always said 4 things. You have to prepare yourself mentally, physically. You have to practice, and the practice has to be tougher than the games, or you're not going to win many games. But you put the players in the right positions, and then you just kind of get out of the way and let them perform. And basically, that's what the captains, the lieutenants, the colonels, they all do, is train this group, whatever group it is, to go do a mission, and they allow the members of that group to do their job. But it's very similar to coaching. They take very much pride in what they do, how they do it, and they train every day. That's what got my attention, how much training in detail they do for a mission that they go on.
Jackie, real quick, you mentioned something that I have learned over the years. The Vince Lombardi line: practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You can do things wrong in math or in science, on the athletic field or in the military, but you have to do it right. You got to correct the mistakes. And the sooner you do that, the better it is, right?
Yeah, that's when they practice. They actually vote for their team members. There's a lot there. You go to Q school. Q school is the first objective of getting into the Green Beret. And then from there, you'll go to different other areas, airborne, but the language, and you will learn a language efficiently to write, speak, and read. I was fortunate. I met a lady that was actually in charge of their foreign language, and she spoke or speaks 32 different languages.
Wow.
Whoa.
That is.
Yes. And they basically put the mission that they go on is they will be able to talk, meaning whether it's French, mostly speaking French, or speaking other Arabic, or speaking other languages. That's what they're qualified to do, to go in and do those missions. But it is in detail. It's I was really amazed. Some of these guys have been in 12 years. They've been on 3-4 missions, and these missions are for our livelihood and our safety, basically.
And how long you were there? A whole week? Is that right?
I was there 4 days.
4 days. Okay.
Yes.
And obviously you can't tell everything. We'd have to kill you if you did. But obviously the first portion of your visit, you're a guest, and I'm sure there are a lot of guys that are coming up and wanting to shake your hand when in reality you're wanting to shake theirs for their commitment to the country and all that. Share a little bit of that if you don't mind.
Yes. Well, you're very honored. I got to know these guys uh, because every year they come to a game at College Station. So I've got to know them off of their base, their home, and going in to see their home and see some of their weapons, see some of the things they do. But the one thing that got me more impressed is the training that they go through. They're in when they go through training. If you mess up, you may be out.
Yeah.
They do not allow mistakes, because one mistake can get them all killed. But they go over and over and over until they can, push it in their sleep.
And I would imagine the precision, the mental acuity to be able to change on the fly, the speed in which they're able to maneuver and do some of the things that they do. Obviously, you'd probably coach a little bit differently if you were a major or a captain, a higher up in that way, and you got to captain your teams. But seeing the proficiency, obviously, that carries over onto the field in terms of how football is coached and how people learn it, and the speed and accuracy that you have to have on game day, right?
Oh, yes. And there's no question that our military, especially when you go to the special ops or you go to the special missions, they may go through 9-12 months of training just for that one mission. And, the intel they have, how they set it up, the exact people that they have. And, what got also the attention is talking to some of the medics that are on the team, what they actually have to do in the field. And I'm talking about, double amputees or even quad amputees to be able to do the things on the spot to save that person's life. They may not save a limb, but they'll save his life.
Yeah. A friend of mine who's been in the military for really is a college teammate of mine, was in for over 20 years, retired USMC, said for every 15 guys that are actually out on a field of battle, there's 85 that are behind the scenes, the medics, the mechanics, the cooks, and the crew, and the amount of people that are back at the base, in other words, that are making sure that this all works. You got to see a little bit of that aspect of it as well, right?
Yeah. And, when all their material, I'm talking about their weapons, their other things, when they go on a mission, they fly the big plane and fill it up with their Humvees, fill it up with whatever material they need for that mission. And there's a lot of things. I mean, they just kind of clean out their meetings. They got different areas. They just clean out all their tools and put it on the plane, and they'll take a backpack, for instance, when they wear their shield with a backpack, you're looking at 70 to 80 pounds that they're carrying.
Yeah, a massive amount of equipment that goes along with it. Vincent, I'm taking up the whole show right now. I'm sure that have you been to Fort Bragg, Vincent, ever?
Never in my life, but I'm very excited and interested in what Coach Sherrill is saying today here on 100 Yards of Football. But I got one question for Coach Sherrill. Based on you being one of the greatest college football coaches ever and your experience at Fort Bragg, what aspect could you possibly take back in your coaching if you were still coaching what you learned from your experience?
Oh, there's a lot, but it's the detail and putting people in the right position that they go through. I mean, there's no room for a mistake, but they're so prepared. If they have to, they can adjust in a second, because even how well intel is, sometimes the intel doesn't give you the whole story.
Back to you, Hawk.
Yeah, very impressed. Now, one of the guys that everybody would acknowledge today, one of the great coaches, has a militaristic background. If you don't mind me saying, Bill Belichick, his father was in the Army. He coached at Army for a while, and he coaches in that manner. There were so many guys, especially Jackie, when you were much younger, when you were playing, that had that military-esque type of mentality behind it. Do you understand a little bit more thoroughly why that was so important and how it transfers over to athletics?
Absolutely. And it is on the field of play, whether it's in the battlefield or on the football field, you have certain jobs to do. And that's why you hear Belichick all the time, do your job.
We lost you for just a split second. Are you done with that, Jackie?
Hello?
Here we go. We'll get him back, hopefully. Maybe he'll have to rejoin the conversation. Jackie, did we get you back?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there we go. We had a little glitch in the armor, so to speak. So you're back.
Yeah.
You were finishing up. Just do your job. I mean, how critical is that? And no matter what you're doing, if you're in sales, you work for a plumber, it doesn't matter. There's certain responsibilities that you learn, and the discipline associated with that of doing it right, doing it continually. In other words, successfully over and over again, the repetitive aspect of that, it can lead to great things. This is not a politically asked question, but there are some countries, Jackie, that you have to serve for 2 years. You can either do it out of high school or after you go to university and may attend a 4-year college. I'm not asking on the political side, but do you see an advantage of doing that? I certainly do. And I know a lot of folks that say, I did it right out of high school. I learned to do something and to do it not only correctly, but to do it with the importance of learning how it would benefit somebody else, whether it be mechanics or electrical, or, if you're a sniper, it doesn't matter what your position is. There's others that are dependent on you, and you're dependent on others that benefited them for the rest of their life. Is there an aspect of that you care to comment on?
Well, when I was in school, that was real far back, but we had ROTC. That was a mandatory, and fell in line, made sure your shoes were polished, and I didn't relish when that sergeant came around and inspected you, and he gave you a mark because your shoes wasn't shined good enough. So no, it does teach you, but the military is for certain people. And there's certain sectors of people that can do it really, really well. But the hard thing is the wives, because they have no idea where they're going to go. They have no idea what they're going to do, and because they can't tell them, and they do not know how long they'll be gone.
Yeah, that is a completely different aspect of it. But I know that, for example, my father served, and the Band of Brothers show that HBO, the miniseries that was on there, so well done. Captain Sobel would take away your pass if you had a thread that was on maybe your sleeve that was exposed, if you had rust on your bayonet, if you had a crease in your pants, he would recommend. There's a certain aspect of that discipline that can be carried over a little bit too far, but obviously the reason behind it is we all do it right, or none of us do it right. So we're all going to learn at the very basics of this. And now you've got guys you mentioned earlier, Jackie, that been there for 10, 12, 15 years, right? So you got some seasoned pros that are a part of this, and it is their career, it's their profession. Oh, we lost Jackie again for a split second. So behind the bench with Jackie Sherrill, we're getting an opportunity to learn a little bit more about his experience there at Fort Bragg. And that's where Jackie was last week. And Vincent, that's one of those really cool things. When he comes back on, I'd like to ask about the relationships that he gets to build. Because he's a head coach, there are people all over that want to shake his hand. You know, they was, hey, coach, I'd love to have you, especially at the university level. And at A&M, where it's really a militaristic school, you still got the 12th man, and so to speak, everybody there, they've got a uniform on. They're cadets, if you will. And that's a very special aspect of university life that he got to experience. Did they have an ROTC at Memphis?
Yes, sir. I had to take ROTC in high school when I was a sophomore. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we had a little sergeant by the name of Dixon. He wasn't really hard, but he was the guy that was an assistant under him. That was an upperclassman. And I remember one day that to get your final credit and the semester is ending, you had this big assembly. Well, over maybe 300 people that's in ROTC, and they bring guys from different posts across the country. And the main thing, Harper, you in that uniform and you hot. And it's really hard to not laugh because at least 4 or 5 people will faint. Okay. And what you will hear is somebody hitting their head against the bleachers. Boom. Boom.
Well, Jackie's able to rejoin us. Thank you so much. We're hearing a little bit about Vincent's experience with the ROTC on those graduation days when it's really super hot outside. Watch out. They don't give you any water, do they, Jackie?
No. Well, we didn't get any water with Coach Bryant either.
No.
It wasn't until my senior year that he finally gave us a water break. But, you know, y'all are too young, but they gave us salt pills to.
I know, salt pills. Oh my gosh, yes. Things are so much different back in those days. It was a matter of toughness as much as anything, right? It was just tough. And for me, I'd have to figure out really early, Vincent, Arkansas, how hot does it get there? Does it get Africa hot? It sure does. It gets Africa hot everywhere, right? Maybe except San Diego. That's probably one place that they don't have that. But my goodness, you know, to go the whole practice without drinking any water and then to give you salt beforehand, probably the worst thing in the world you could do.
That's what they call in the South building a man, building them to be nice.
Yes.
Building to be honored.
Yeah. I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but it keeps knocking me off.
Well, we appreciate you. Keep trying to log back in, Jackie. Thank you so much for doing so. We were talking about salt pills right before we lost you the last time. And unfortunately, now today's date, you wouldn't even think about doing that, but that was a staple, wasn't it? That was just like, you know, having bacon and eggs for breakfast.
Oh, yes. You know, a few years ago, it's more than a few. I started in 1977. I started visiting crippled children's hospitals all over the country, and became at one hospital, a little 7-year-old kid. We became friends. I invited him to come and be on our sideline and practice anytime. But he flipped me a coin. I don't know if you can see this, but he flipped me a coin, and it's a coin of an angel. And he said, "You're my angel." So fast forward, I carried them and would give them out, but I'd give them, my first one was to my wife. She was going through colon cancer operation. And so I taped one on her wrist, and I'm sure they took it off. But anyway, that point, I started carrying them. I've always carried and given coins out, but I've sent over 100 with guys going overseas on missions, and would say 3 words to them: bring it back.
Okay. I love it.
And
Jack, that's such a genuine aspect of some guys don't get it, or they get it a little bit too late. But talk a little bit about those special times where you know you have the ability to help somebody and you do it. You go to the children's hospital, and I'm sure there's always one more kid that you would love to be able to shake hands with, or to help in some way, shape, or form. But you picked a little boy out, right? A young man that I want you to come to any practice whenever you want to come. I will stop what I'm doing to make sure that we have that happen, right? That your ability to touch somebody's heart because their aspect of their life touched your heart, and to being able to transfer that over as a head coach and taking the responsibility. First, I applaud you for doing that. I thank you for doing that. And then just, if you don't mind, just share a little bit about, what that meant to you.
Well, Harper, you know that in our space, I never was around handicapped kids. I was always with the strongest, the fastest, playing on the football field, basketball, baseball, but in life, and then able to coach. So most athletes are never around handicapped kids unless it's one in their family or somebody, cousins, or down the road. So being able to be in that environment and understand, and it took me 4 times, going in and out, going out trying to catch yourself back up. But after I realized they don't want your sympathy, they just want your love and understanding.
Yep.
That they're not able to do things that you are. And I would take our team to the hospitals every year. And I did that because I could learn. I learned, and I could learn more about every player, watching him handling or talking to a handicapped kid of any type. And, it's very telling when you walk into a hospital, if somebody's been around, understands, and what their purpose is being there. It's amazing. We have a group, a 12-man kickoff team. Those are the kids that made a kickoff team out of, that were students out of the student body. But long story short, we go to the Scottish Rite in Dallas every year, and we go to the MDA, that's the Children's Center. That's the top cancer research hospital in the country in Houston. And we put on a little fair. They have food, play games with them, give them hats, T-shirts, and other items. But it is amazing to watch these kids come down, because they may be pushing a triple pack. That means you got 3 lines into you, giving you antibiotics or giving you therapy somehow. And once they come down there, you can't even tell that anything's wrong with them, because they're so happy and getting out of their room that they stay in 24/7. And some of these kids, Vincent and Harper, they've been in the hospital for, 7 and 8 years of receiving therapy. And, it's mind blowing that, here they are, and we are in such a good shape, or physical. I had the opportunity to play the sports or play the game of football, and they'll never get to do it.
Right. But they love it. They love the game. They get to watch. And now that they have a relationship with either the coach or assistant coaches or some of the players, what a difference it makes for everybody. That Babe Ruth was told to hit a home run by a little kid who was in the hospital. He was sick in a hospital, and he did. You hear stories that for 50, 60, 70, 80 years going back. And then my personal stories of going into hospitals and shaking hands with kids and them cheering for me. Are you kidding me? It's the other way around, right? The benefit really goes to you, Jackie. You're a better human being after meeting some of the kids in the hospital. The reciprocation is amazing.
Yes. You receive a lot more than they do when you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Vincent, you had a little bit of that while you were playing there at Arkansas.
Yeah, but you got to understand, I didn't going in the hospitals. I just went through one spring practice under Coach Holtz. But he did talk one day in practice. He said that since Coach Sherrill brought this up, he said, man, you better take time to realize how blessed you are. Because a lot of people love to be in your position. And don't ever take this for granted in your life. I remember Coach Holtz telling me that at spring practice. And right after spring practice, I'm going to tell the truth here today, on 100 yards of football, I was cut going into the next season. The season they went into 1980, ranked number 1. But that's what I learned from Coach Holtz, learning that. And I would say this today. All of us have had trials and tribulations in our life. But what I learned today is that I'm very blessed to have this great coach who I consider one of the top 3 coaches in college football tell the story. Because a lot of times we go through life and sometimes we get selfish within ourselves. But one thing about it, you heard it from one of the greatest, when you go into those hospitals, it's going to change your life. It's going to make you be a better man. And I want to say today, Coach Sherrill, we love you and thank you for what you just presented to us today here on 100 Yards of Football. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, Jackie, your final comments.
Well, there's no question it certainly helps you, but being able to have a relationship. My first one I went to in 77, I befriended a little kid, 7 years old, invited him, and we were opening up with Notre Dame. So I invited him to be the guest for the game on national TV. And that was in probably March, right? Yeah, March, I guess. And took our team. I have no idea reason for it. I just took some players down the hill in Pittsburgh to the hospital. And then in June, it's June, I get a letter from one of the nurses, said how excited the kids were, how excited he was being invited to come to the Notre Dame game. But the next paragraph, unexpected things happened. He passed away. Well, it took me a long time to kind of compose myself that day. But again, they don't want your sympathy. They just want you to understand what they go through and their love or your love to them.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. What a tragic story about losing a 7-year-old. But the thrill and excitement and the joy that all the others got. Wow. Let's just say his name was Mikey, and Mikey got to go to the Notre Dame game. He was invited to do that. How cool is that? And I'm sure that spread like wildfire. And again, little things always can make a big difference. And you certainly had a great part of that, Jackie. Even though we lose a 7-year-old, there were many things that you were able to do for others all throughout your coaching career. Thank you for doing that. And I mean that. I tip my hat and I salute you for that. I think there needs to be more of it. There are plenty of coaches that do it, and I wish they all did. But the fact that you in 1977 started that little tradition of yourself just spending time bringing some kids on your team and taking them to the hospital to expose them to a whole different world of folks that are struggling. Thank you again for doing that. We greatly appreciate it.
The best player I ever had going into the hospital was Tony Dorsett.
Wow.
I mean, he was unreal. Still is.
Yeah.
Today. He could make kids cry and laugh at the same time. I mean, he was really good at going into the hospitals.
And I imagine there's a certain uneasiness that you have not knowing if a certain player will Harper LaBelle mess this up. You're grateful when Tony Dorsett or Harper LaBelle or anybody does a great job. You see smile on kids' face. It's genuine. It's not just because we're there. Yes, we're there, and we have a reason that we're there. But the ability to connect when that is it is real and it is genuine. I guess I'm going to use that word again. There's a special value that you get out of that as well.
Yes, and you learn, Harper, you learn an awful lot about a player. You can tell real quick about his background. You can tell real quickly what he has inside, and basically, uh, you can tell the kids you want to go to war with.
Yeah, yeah. You know who's been raised right, and who are the ones that you can count on
Yeah.
when the need be. Well, we want to thank you, Jackie, so very much for sharing those stories here today. As a part of Jackie's last week's visit to Fort Bragg, we went on a little bit of a tangent. We appreciate
Yeah.
that story, but you know what? The value is well worth it. Not everything has to do with, well, we're just going to talk about NIL and the NCAA, but there's more to this. There's a lot of different areas that we're going to go on in this path with Jackie Sherrill and with Vincent Turner. We appreciate you for that. Real quick, I just want to make mention, some of this is brought to you because we have people that want to watch the show. They want to see it expand, and mybookie.ag has helped in that manner as well. If you are looking to place a bet, if you've got a NCAA tournament game coming up here, the 4 number 1 seeds, if even the women's Final Four, NHL, hockey, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, if you'd like to be a part of that so that you win and be a blessing to somebody else, we'd like to help you make that happen. The promo code is MM50, MM50. When you go to mybookie.ag, you can log on, open an account, fund the account, and then place your bets right after that. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3, and we hope you have a great experience when you go to mybookie.ag. We appreciate them being a part of our show today. And also part of our show is Vincent Turner, Logan Landers, and then, of course, we're behind the bench with Jackie Sherrill. So for everybody being a part of today's show, we want to thank you for tuning in on 100 Yards of Football. I'm Harper LaBelle. Have a fantastic day, everybody.